There's a specific kind of person who doesn't panic when things fall apart. Not because they don't care, but because they've already rehearsed collapse 100 times in their mind. You know exactly who you are. You're the one people call when everything goes wrong. The steady voice, the problem solver, the one who somehow holds it all together while the world crumbles. But here's what no one sees. Behind that composure is a quiet exhaustion that sleep can't fix. It's not tiredness from one bad day. It's the weight of years, of too many storms weathered alone, of being the strong one so often that you forgot what it feels like to be held. Society looks at you and sees someone who's put together, collected, maybe even cold. But the truth is far more complex. You're not unfeeling, you're experienced. And if that resonates, this video is about you. You're not imagining this. That invisible weight you carry, the one that doesn't show up in obvious ways but lives in your chest, your shoulders, your constant low-grade vigilance. It's real. And you're not being dramatic. You're carrying the weight of experiences most people simply can't fathom. Others may tell you to move on, to be grateful it's over, to stop dwelling on the past. But your body doesn't forget that easily. It remembers everything you've survived, even when your conscious mind tries desperately to move forward. And those coping mechanisms you've developed along the way, the withdrawing, the overfunctioning, the emotional flatness, those weren't flaws in your character. They were survival tools, strategies your younger self created to endure what should never have been endured. There's a reason for all of this. Your brain didn't break, it adapted. It rewired itself to protect you, and psychology can prove it. Every crisis you survived left a deposit in your nervous system. Slowly, over time, that account started to overflow. This is known as allostatic load, the cumulative wear and tear that long-term stress and trauma place on your body and mind. Chronic survival mode reshapes you. It trains the amygdala, your brain's threat detector, to stay on high alert. It dulls the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotions and make rational decisions. It's not just psychological, it's structural. The ACE study, one of the most significant pieces of trauma research ever done, found that people with high scores on early adversity are far more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and even physical illness later in life. But it also explained why. When stress is constant, your system adapts by becoming more sensitive to potential threats. You're not paranoid, you're prepared. This is why small things can feel like too much. Your window of tolerance, the range where your nervous system feels safe, is already narrowed. And that deep calm you slip into during chaos, it's not apathy. It's what happens when your internal alarm has been screaming for so long, it finally goes silent. For some, going through too much meant learning to read rooms before they could read books, scanning for danger, for mood shifts, for the next storm. When your safety once depended on predicting the unpredictable, you become skilled at sensing what others miss, hyper-aware, empathic to a fault, and yet somehow still guarded. That's the hidden paradox. You feel everything deeply, but you've trained yourself to show nothing. Not because you're fake, because showing once led to hurt you couldn't afford to feel again. So you became the calm in chaos, the one who hears everyone else but rarely gets heard. Over time, that survival strategy can harden into emotional blunting, not numbness by choice, but by necessity. In its healthiest form, this makes you wise, intuitive, unshakably grounded. But left unchecked, it turns into something heavier, an inability to receive care, a chronic self-reliance that quietly isolates you. Some call that stillness strength, and sometimes it is, but other times it's dissociation wearing a calm mask. This is the complicated truth no one sees on the surface, that your silence isn't emptiness, it's a shield, one you had to build before you even understood why. You are not broken by what happened to you. You are built from what you survived. Every quiet moment you pushed through, Every invisible burden you carried didn't weaken you, it forged something unshakable. The world may have called you too guarded, too serious, too withdrawn, but they never saw the fires you walked through just to still be here. While others were busy living, you were busy surviving, adapting, discerning, learning to read between the lines of life. Your hypervigilance isn't a flaw, it's protective wisdom. You're not anxious, you're aware. You're not cold, you're conserving energy in a world that rarely felt safe. There is a kind of strength that only comes from being brought to your knees and still choosing to get back up, again and again. You are not hard to reach. You are layered, intentional, and deeply alive. And that is powerful beyond measure. Here's what most people don't tell you. Research shows that those who've gone through deep adversity often score higher on measures of meaning, gratitude, spiritual depth, and personal strength. It's called post-traumatic growth, a term coined by psychologists Tedeschi and Calhoun to describe the unexpected expansion that can happen after suffering. It doesn't erase the pain, but it adds something new: depth, clarity, a sharper sense of what matters. The twist? You're not broken despite what happened to you. You may be wiser, more emotionally attuned, and more capable of love, beauty, and connection because of it. Growth doesn't mean the trauma was worth it. It means you were never defined by it. This isn't a silver lining, it's a second truth, one that can only be seen once the smoke begins to clear. Your pain shaped you, but your insight, your inner world, your resilience, those are entirely yours. Here's what most people don't tell you. Research shows that people who faced deep adversity often score higher on measures of meaning, gratitude, spiritual depth, and personal strength. It's called post-traumatic growth, a concept introduced by psychologists Tedeschi and Calhoun to explain how real transformation can emerge from real pain. It doesn't erase the pain, but it adds something new: depth, clarity, a sharper sense of what matters. The twist? You're not broken despite what happened to you. You may be wiser, more emotionally attuned, and more capable of love, beauty, and connection because of it. Growth doesn't mean the trauma was worth it. It means you were never defined by it. This isn't a silver lining, it's a second truth, one that can only be seen once the smoke begins to clear. Your pain shaped you, but your insight, your inner world, your resilience, those are entirely yours. This isn't toxic positivity. Your pain was real, but so is your growth. Beneath all the armor, there might be a version of you that's not just surviving, but ready to feel deeply again. So ask yourself gently, is your calm a place of peace or a fortress you've built to keep everyone out? Is your independence a freedom you've chosen, or the only way you ever learned to feel safe? Are you thriving in the quiet wisdom you've earned, or still surviving beneath the weight of armor that used to protect you? Only you know, and either answer is okay. Because this isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. And awareness is the first soft step toward choosing something new. When you're ready, no pressure, just the quiet possibility of healing at your own pace. If this video described you, you're probably someone who's learned to hide how much you actually feel, not out of dishonesty, but out of instinct, protection, habit. That's why I think you'll deeply connect with our next video, Psychology of People Who Feel Everything But Show Nothing. It explores why some of the most emotional people appear the most unreadable and what's really happening beneath that quiet surface. You've already survived the hardest parts. You've carried weight without a map. Now it's time to understand the shape of it and maybe, finally, begin to loosen your grip.